One way or another, Florida's law regarding restoring voting rights to felons who served their time is about to change, as Adam Cellini reports how it could affect a huge impact on Florida politics.
Alan, in Florida, convicted felons must wait 5 years after serving their full sentence before they can apply for clemency, and even that is a process that can take years.
Many of us with felony convictions are assets to our communities.
In 2005, at the age of 22, Steve Felon lit a bar on fire. He doesn't remember much, as heavy drinking mixed with antidepressants left him in a state of psychosis.
12 years of probation for the arson, 5 years of probation for reckless public endangerment, as well as 1 year of house arrest.
David Walsh, a father of 3, spent 3 years in prison after selling a portion of his prescription painkillers to a friend.
First-degree felony trafficking of an opiate-based derivative, which on paper says I went to prison for trafficking heroin.
Both men made mistakes, paid for it with jail time and probation, and returned to become functioning members of society, except anytime there's an election, because neither is allowed to vote.
Government-wise, I can't be of any impact. My opinions don't matter.
It's constantly a reminder that we will never be good enough to be welcomed back into the community.
Florida is one of 4 states that doesn't automatically restore voting rights after a criminal sentence is completed. Instead, offenders wait years before applying for clemency, which only Governor Rick Scott and 3 others can grant individually. It's part of why over a quarter of our nation's disenfranchised voters, nearly 1.5 million people, are right here in Florida. Last year, the Fair Elections Legal Network sued Governor Scott on behalf of 9 felons, claiming that process violates their First and 14th Amendment rights in the U.S. Constitution. And earlier this month, a U.S. District Court judge agreed.
Well, it's a landmark decision defending the right to vote and saying that the First Amendment protects the right to vote, and you can't have an arbitrary process deciding whether or not felons in the state of Florida can regain that right.
Days earlier, a different approach to restoring state voting rights also hit a landmark. The Florida Rights Restoration Initiative secured the 766,000 signatures it needed to put a constitutional amendment on a ballot. In November, voters will decide if they want ex-felons, with the exception of murderers and sex offenders, to have those rights automatically restored.
It's not easy to get that many petitions signed, and believe me, I've been involved in getting petitions signed for a long time for a number of different initiatives. So we were celebrating when we finally hit that number.
The Democratic Party of Sarasota County passed a resolution supporting this initiative last year. The county's Republican Party has not, telling us they simply haven't discussed this year's amendments as a group. Some argue more felon voters might swing Florida elections to the left, but Schlasko says meeting an offender is enough motivation.
You look into their eyes and they're so sad, and you know that this is a just cause.
If the amendment passes, it would nullify the lawsuit against the governor, and vice versa.
No, there will be no love lost. We're both driving at roughly the exact same goal.
And if it does last until November's elections, Walsh and Felon have a message for their neighbors.
It's hard to appreciate the value of life until it's taken from you.
When granting a felon the right to vote, I want you to understand that this label is attached to a person.
And Alan, if the lawsuit fails, that constitutional amendment will be on a ballot on November 6th of this year. In the newsroom, Adam Cellini, ABC 7, your Suncoast News.